Good morning, or in my case, good evening. To start this live for the Sorrowful Mysteries, I'm going to read a Rumi poem, and I'm going to have to go and look in my computer with my glasses on so that I can speak it. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I was feeling that that was a perfect way for me to begin the Sorrowful Mysteries. And I'll tell you a couple of little stories before we share a little bit, or I share a little bit of movement. And if you want to be part of that, you are welcome to join me in that. Um, I remember when I was in college and I was performing as a dancer, and especially after my senior show, I remember the feeling distinctly. So the performance was over, that was it. I remember being at a meal with my um, boyfriend at the time and my parents, and I was just empty. I was depressed. I was like, what now? I put all my energy into this senior recital, and it was such a deep low, and I really didn't know what to do with myself. And gosh, there was another story I was going to tell too. But I mean, we all know sorrow, we all know grief. It's just part of what happens in life. And often people are, suggesting to us what to do or just take one step at a time. And I'm here to offer you some other ideas. Well, maybe the other story I was going to tell is as it leads into a movement experience that I did when I was leaving New Zealand a few years ago, and that was the longest place I'd lived as an adult for 12 years. And coming to Guam, I was feeling, you know, really sad about that loss, and I wasn't sure what to, how to play with it. And so I started to go to the park and just lay on my belly and my belly into the earth and just feeling that umbilicus connection. And so I think that all of us can benefit from that. And if it wasn't dark, I'd take you outside. That would require a bit more setup for me to do this in the dark in Guam outside. But what I did in movement was to, I'll just come further back. I guess you can see me all right. It's just lay and just feel that connection. And especially if you're in a field of grass on the beach, um, or, anywhere on land or by a tree, whatever. I mean, it's just taking that time to feel the vibration and your own vibration, and it's very comforting to lay this way. And I suppose in yoga we could call this uh, shavasana prone as opposed to shavasana on your back. And I think sometimes when we're going through sorrows or loss, we just have to allow dissolution within ourselves and going into like shavasana or now I'm going to forget the name of it. Anyway, the deep rest that happens
we just let ourselves dissolve, let ourselves dissolve. And this is a beautiful position when you're laying on your belly to just let yourself dissolve into yourself. And if it's not so comfortable, you can add pillows, rolled up blankets, all kinds of things just to make yourself really comfortable, even on the earth. So that's just one little thing that you can do for yourself if that allows you just to be in that sorrow and that dissolution. And then another thing that's very can be quite meaningful that comes from one of my dance therapy colleagues. Her name's Danny Frankel. She talks about the shape of the body, and of course we're told, yeah, like just one step at a time. Well, to me that's linear, literal, and dancers move all kinds of different ways. But something with shape again is back to the touch. And it can be as simple, when you're in a state of the sorrow, a simple thing can just be to start to trace your hand. Just take one hand and just trace your shape. Because when we're going into that state of dissolution, we have no idea what's going to come from it, what's going to emerge. And it's just a little bit about our shape, our physical shape. Now, she, of course, speaks about it and doing it over some time. And like if I had the hand and the fingers, I could add the arm. And it's also nice to just shape the outline of your head. Again, there's just something very nice about this. Just reminding yourself that you are in a body, because often we're in the middle of grief, or often when there's a sorrow, we may shut down the grief. So how do we allow the feelings just to move through us? Because that's what emotion means. It has motion in it. It's meant that we are to move through it. And there's so many sorrows in the world today. Oh, that was the other story I was going to tell. So as a graduate student, I moved to New York City, and living in the city was quite overwhelming and full of sorrow. And it was just overwhelming for me to take that in, plus to be studying dance therapy, plus to be in my own therapy, and just going through all the grief and the sorrow of my unmet needs as a child, and all that stuff was so overwhelming. So doing these kind of shape, creating my body shape, is just really a nice thing to do to remind me that I'm here. I can allow my emotions to move through me. And the day goes on, the sun still rises, the birds wake up in the morning. And sometimes when you're in the middle of grief, it's just nice to go out in the dawn, especially if you're not sleeping well, and just listen to the birds and watch the sun come up. So that can be a lovely thing to be doing when we're in the midst of sorrow. So this isn't a lot of dance per se, although I feel like I need to kind of do my other hand. But this is, and doing the shape is just the 2D shape at this stage. This is just the 2D shape. I have an outline. You can do it in the foot, you can do it around the toes, bring it up the leg, bring it down the leg. So it's just a way to remind yourself of your body shape, even if you're going through this feeling of deep dissolution. And you can take yourself and put yourself into a Shavasana pose, either on your belly, on your back, on whatever's comfortable, and just surround yourself with pillows and blankets, and just allow yourself to dissolve if that's what you need, to dissolve in tears. If you need those tears to wash over you,
like the waves. And so that's a little bit from me about the sorrowful mysteries. So thank you for joining me. Blessings and have a beautiful day. And I'm wearing 2 rosaries tonight.